Buying a home is more than just a transaction. It's a journey. And for many, it can feel overwhelming, confusing, and even a little scary. But hey, you're not alone. Welcome to From Rents to Roots, Homeownership with Work Hard Mortgage, where we share real stories from real people who have navigated the home buying process. In each episode, we sit down with first-time homebuyers, industry experts, and real estate professionals to talk about the challenges, surprises, and lessons they've learned along the way. If you're dreaming of owning a home but don't know where to start, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Welcome, Matthew and Kaylee, to From Rents to Roots. That's what we're going to call this series. So, From Rents to Roots. So, tell us a little bit about your guys' self. Where are you guys from? And where are you guys living at right now? And where were you living before that? Kind of give us a little background here.
Okay, well, I'm Kaylee Kendall, and this is my husband Matt. And we were living in Eden, Utah, and now we're living in Tremonton, Utah.
Okay. And what, obviously, you bought this home and stuff like that. So how long ago did you guys start the process of saying, hey, I want to buy a home. How do we get there? Kind of thing. How long have you been kind of doing this?
We started looking into it around this time last year. Yeah. And we didn't really have an excellent credit score or anything like that. And so we were just kind of waiting it out to see if we could get, better credit score and things like that so we could get a house. Okay.
And what made you decide, hey, we'd prefer to, buy than rent? Why did you decide, why did you not just keep renting,
Well, we didn't really like the area we were living in. It was really far away from a lot of cities and towns, and the roads and stuff that we would have to take to work were really actually very dangerous and not good on our car. Like, we just changed my brake pads recently, and they were worn down to the nub because of the canyons.
Sure.
And it also got like copious amounts of snow, which we hated. Yes. And we wanted to move into an area where we could have sheep and maybe a cow and things like that. And we knew that if we lived up there and we kept renting, that would never be an option for us. So we started looking into areas where we could, eventually one day own sheep and maybe a cow.
Okay. And you settled on Tremonton then for that reason, I guess. Okay. And, is that kind of, was Tremonton the dream? Is that I guess that's the stepping stone to owning the cow and the sheep and stuff like that, like you said.
Yeah, we really like Box Elder County. We lived here for a little bit before we moved to Eden, and we were trying to get back up to Box Elder County, but then we kind of fell in love with Tremonton as we were looking at houses, because it's just this really cute little town. It's not a horrible drive for either of us to get to work. There's farms all around us where we live, and we were just, there's something really cute and quaint about Tremonton, and we don't feel like we're completely cut off either. We can go to the grocery store and get everything we need at the grocery store. We can take the highway, and it's a straight shot to both Logan and Ogden, so that we can get to bigger cities.
Sure. Perfect. Great. Okay. So tell me, as far as actually buying the home and stuff like that, tell me some of the fears that you had, about buying a home. Were there, or were you just fearless,
We wanted to make sure we could find something we could afford. It wasn't going to stretch our budget, and it had enough room for our kids and to be comfortable.
Yeah, because we have 5 kids.
Okay. Yeah.
But still have,
you need space, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And tell me, as far as that process goes, so you mentioned credit and stuff like that. What did you do to kind of get that going and, kind of get that a little bit higher and fixed and stuff?
It really was kind of just about waiting it out. We'd paid off a whole bunch of stuff, and we just kind of needed time to build up a good credit history. And what was cool was that the guy that we were renting from, who was also our real estate agent, he reported our on-time payments with rent to the credit agency. So that it helped build those up, so that when we did go to move, we had a really good credit score.
Okay. So that helped there and stuff like that. Okay, great. No, that's good. Now the first time we tried this, that first house didn't work out, right? So tell me that experience. What was that, depressing, like how come you kept going again and you tried again? Why give me that story, I guess.
So with the first house, it was like, we just didn't feel like it was the right fit.
Yeah.
And it was hard because for a minute, we were like, what if we never find something we want?
Yeah.
Because we had so many boxes that we wanted checked. And it was like, if we didn't want to settle on something just to be in a house. We wanted to be able to have a house that we want to raise our kids in and, have grandkids come and visit at this house and things like that. And so even though we liked that house, we weren't in love with it. It wasn't a place where we could see us living for a long time.
Yeah. Okay. And so as far as getting back up on that horse, to looking again, was that not too hard then, I guess, as far as, when that one kind of fell through and stuff, or you were good because you were determined to buy a house, I guess.
Yeah, we were pretty determined. And it wasn't too hard to start looking again, but it also was, I don't know. It was kind of mixed because we really wanted to make sure that we could find something we wanted. And it was kind of disheartening because for a long time after that, we still couldn't find something we wanted.
Sure. And you ended up settling upon a loan called USDA Rural Housing, right? So how did you hear about that loan? Give me a little background on that that process.
Well, when we reached out to your agency, and you laid out all the numbers and things like that, you showed us that the USDA program has zero down, as long as you live within a certain area. And so, and it had one of the lowest payments too, on top of it being zero down. And so we were really interested in the USDA loan for those reasons, because we didn't have money to put down on a house. And we also liked that it was a lower payment, even if we'd gone with another way.
Okay. And so what would you say to people that are thinking about rural housing? Because obviously one of the downsides some people might say is that you have to live in a rural area, right? But give me your feedback on that, I guess.
I like living in a rural area. I mean, there are so many benefits to living in a rural area. You live in a smaller and calmer community. The crime in this area is significantly lower than it is in like an urban area. My friend and I were kind of looking at because I have a lot of small children. So we were looking at like sex offenders in this area and things like that. And we compared this house to his house in Ogden. And it was like his house in Ogden has 10 times the amount that mine does.
Okay.
And which is crazy. So that's the benefit, is like there's not a lot that happens around here, but then also they have some really cool community stuff. Like when we first got here, they had a Hay Days thing, and there were fireworks and food trucks and lots of fun stuff at the park. In a couple of weeks, they're going to have the Box Elder County Fair, which is one of the biggest fairs in Utah still, which is really cool. Yeah, there's just like a lot of benefits to living outside of the city. I know that a lot of people don't like to commute, but I think if you move to a smaller town area and you experience it even for a little bit, you'll realize how magical it is to be out here.
Okay. Love that. There was a little bit of stress during the loan process, right? I mean, it wasn't just, easy and stuff like that. How did you handle the stress of actually getting the loan, getting the home, that kind of thing?
We just kept asking questions. If we had any questions, we would just call or email either the loan team or our realtor. But what I did love is that the loan team, it did not take long for you guys to get back to us. It took less than an hour, I'd say, every single time we called. And that was through email or through phone call. And same way, where if you guys needed a document, you guys got that document to us within, like 30 seconds sometimes, and we would get that signed and sent back to you so quickly. And that's something that my realtor mentioned too, is said that he was really impressed how quickly all this came together, considering the loan that we got.
Sure. And what was there a point in the process where you were like, hey, this is actually going to happen? And how did that feel? And, as far as like, hey, wait, it's not a maybe, it's now a, hey, we're actually going to get this.
It took a minute for that to end.
Sure.
I don't think it was until when would you say?
Pretty close to close on it.
Yeah, it was like maybe the day before closing.
Yeah.
that we were like, oh, this is actually going to happen. And I think it was just because we'd had, the fall through in December that we were kind of worried about. And then like we were trying not to get our hopes up because our house really did check all of our boxes, which was insane too. But it was just, we were kind of not thinking about it and not getting our hopes built up or anything because we were like, we don't want to be disappointed again. But so it wasn't until literally like the day before closing that we were like, oh, it's actually happening.
Yeah. Yeah. And what was the feeling like to finally get the keys and, finally, like, you maybe describe that a little bit.
It's a hard feeling to describe. It's relieving. It's joyous. It's, I don't know. How would you describe it?
Same. It's a relief, and it's also like overwhelming and like overwhelming in a good way where you're just so excited and happy. And there's something about like knowing that this is where our kids are going to, grow up. They're going to be teenagers and be grumpy and obnoxious in this house. And then, they're going to come back with their grandkids, and this is where grandkids will run up and down and play hide and seek and things. It's just,
it's your home. It's not just something you're borrowing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love that. I love that. No, I love that. And now you've been in the home for, how long have you been in the home now for?
About 3 weeks. 3 weeks.
Okay. And how has that process been? Unpacking, is it starting to feel like home or not yet, still?
It is starting to feel like home. What's really funny is we went up to Bear Lake this last weekend. Yeah. And to get up to Bear Lake, you have to go up through a canyon. And our youngest was asleep when we went up. Yeah. And when we were coming back down and we were going through the canyon, she started screaming. And she's 3 years old. And we were like, Charlotte, what's wrong? And she just kept screaming. And finally she goes, I don't want to go to the old house. I want to go to our house. Because she was so used to the canyon leading to our old house up in Eden that she for sure thought that because we were going through the canyon that we were going to be going to our old house and not her new house with her new bed and her new stuff.
That's awesome. So she just associated that road with going there. And you're like, no, this is a vacation. No, we're coming back. That's awesome. I love that. That's a great story. So obviously she likes the new house. She's already feeling at home.
Yeah.
And stuff. So, okay. No, that's awesome. What advice would you give to people, that are maybe in similar situations to you, that are on the fence about, their ability to qualify for a home and stuff like that? What advice would you give them?
It doesn't hurt to try. We tried qualifying last year and there wasn't any risk involved. We just looked. And when you look and you realize, it's almost like you realize that it's possible. Sure. So just try. Don't sit around and go, well, we don't know if we qualify. We don't know if we have enough money to put down. We don't know if there's so many what ifs, but you can't answer the what ifs until you try. That's something that I, as a teacher, will tell my kids too, where I'm like, you can't know if you can't, you can't know what you need to learn, or you can't know what you need to do until you just try. Sure. Same thing. You just need to try. And maybe you'll be disappointed, but in our experience, that's not the case. We weren't disappointed. It was just the first time we tried, it was like, just give it 6 months. Yeah. And then we gave it 6 months and we were able to qualify. And even though that first house didn't work out, we now are in the house of our dreams. So just awesome. Try.
Awesome. Is there one thing you wish you'd known before you started this process that, if you go back in time, like, well, it would have made it easier if I'd known X, Y, Z, whatever?
I don't think so. The process was really smooth and easy once we reached out to, I would say, if anything, see if you qualify. Don't go talk to a realtor. Don't start looking at anything. Talk to a loan person first, because if you talk to a loan person first, then you'll have an idea of if you can qualify and then kind of what your range is. Yeah. When we bought our first house a long time ago, we didn't do that. We went through a realtor and there was a lot more hiccups. And so I think if you go through a loan person first, you know exactly where you stand, you know exactly what you can afford, and then finding a home that fits your boxes and also is in your price range is a lot easier to do.
Perfect. Okay. Awesome. Anything else that you would mention about the whole experience, or anything else that you want to, talk about?
I can't think of anything.
Nope.
Okay.
Be patient, I guess.
Be patient. Yeah. Okay. That's good. Yeah. Patience pays off, right? So yeah. Yeah, it does. And obviously you guys are living proof. Now you got it, right? So
Yep.
good spot there and stuff. So okay. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you. I appreciate you.
Thanks for tuning in to From Rents to Roots. I hope today's episode gave you insight, confidence, and maybe even a little inspiration on your homeownership journey. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might find it helpful. And if you're ready to take the next step in buying a home or just have questions, reach out to me or my team at Work Hard Mortgage. We'd love to help you on your path to homeownership. Until next time, keep working hard, keep building your future, and we'll see you soon.